Hi everyone. Welcome to the workshop on mindfulness in the workplace. So I'm not too sure whether there are more people to join, but yeah, since it's already the right time to start, let me start now. So today's content will be basically about mindfulness and how that can be applied in the workplace. Because mindfulness is not only about applying in the workplace; it's all also about applying in different contexts. So, like addressing the working crowd, we're trying to focus on mindfulness and how it can be applied in the workplace so that you can try to overcome your stress and have a pleasant working experience. So, first, let me share my screen. So, I believe the screen is visible. Right, okay. Okay, I'm going to start now. I'm sorry for the delay. First let me introduce myself. So I'm Zafra Aswar Ali, and I've completed my bachelor's of science in psychology, and also I'm working as an associate lecturer for psychology at AIB Sri Lanka. So I have taken up to present this workshop on mindfulness. So yeah, let's begin. So, okay. Uh, so, as an introduction to mindfulness, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's very important because in our day to day activities, we come across a lot of stressful events and so many events that can bring about anxiety and all of that. So, mindfulness is one way that will help you cope with such emotions and feelings. So, especially for today's fast paced world, that too bound with technology, mindfulness is an essential activity that you can engage in. So when it comes to workplace, again, it's obviously a crucial aspect that will help you focus and also help you have a pleasant working experience, because when it comes to work, stress also tags along with it. So in this workshop, we will actually look into the benefits of mindfulness in the workplace and how you can practically apply that in a professional environment, especially where maybe mindfulness may not be a thing in certain workplaces. But in such workplaces, if you think you have to practice mindfulness by yourself, then I hope this will be useful. Okay, so first let's understand what mindfulness is. So, mindfulness is consciously being present in a particular moment. So, in this particular activity, you build up an awareness and acceptance of what you feel, and that too non judgmentally. You're not going to judge yourself or think bad about yourself that it will be a problem and I'm never going to overcome it. It's not that. You have to accept your thoughts and feelings, even though it may be negative and it's going to have a very bad impact on you. It's about accepting it by being present and fully engaged in the moment. So, workplace, it's important to have that kind of a mindset so that you will have some sort of mental clarity and emotional resilience, a mental resilience to adapt with different working environment. And when you consider how mindfulness actually emerged, the roots actually is, um, it's from the religious and cultural practices. And it's initially originated from the practices of Buddhism and Hinduism. So, mindfulness can be considered as something that is integrated with religion, but it's not entirely a religious practice. We will look into that in detail as well. So, yeah, mindfulness is traced back to religious connections, but it can be used by anybody. Right. So, let's look into the benefits of mindfulness specifically in workplaces. So, embracing mindfulness in workplace is an important thing because that will help you improve focus in the work you do. Because when you're stressed, you're not going to think about the actual work that you will be doing. Instead, you will focus on your stress and your mind will be deviated for something else. So, mindfulness will help you develop that mindset to improve focus on your work and also have, reduce your stress levels. Apart from that, when you have a mindset with that mindset to have that mindfulness in you, you will also have creativity. It will help you think in many creative ways that will be useful for different activities in your workplace. This is also supported by many research studies where mindfulness has been useful in order to make better decisions, especially when it comes to group activities, and even to maintain better relationship with other employees, very professional, very strong relationship, and a relationship with understanding with other employees. Mindfulness has been useful. And apart from that, emotional intelligence is also important for an employee. Even though they're not the same, even though mindfulness and emotional intelligence is not the same, when you practice mindfulness, emotional intelligence is also going to be developed in you. We look into that as well in detail. So those are the benefits of mindfulness and practicing it in your workplace, so that you will be working in an environment, or rather working stress free, rather than having all the stress in you and trying to complete all your assigned tasks. So another thing about mindfulness is, a lot of people believe that mindfulness and meditation are both the same, which is incorrect. They're not the same, but some people have the tendency to use these two words interchangeably. But the difference between mindfulness and meditation is a practice where you try to focus on yourself, like relax, have a calm mindset, and try to cultivate that mindfulness and other attitudes like gratitude and all of that. But mindfulness is not meditation. Maybe you can say a type of mindfulness is meditating, right? So meditation is a type of mindfulness, but both are not the same. You're basically having a state of mind that will help you focus on your emotions without any judgment. So one way of doing that is through meditation, but mindfulness is also practiced in many other ways, like like mindful walking, mindful eating, and so many things, which we will again discuss in detail. So the difference between mindfulness and meditation is, mindfulness is focusing on yourself, as a way of accepting your, especially the negative emotions, and meditation is a type of mindfulness that will help you do that. So don't confuse the two terms. Even though they are considered the same thing by many people, they're not the same. Okay, so let's look at some misconceptions about mindfulness. Again, mindfulness and meditation is the same, is one of the misconceptions. Since we discussed about that, I'll go for that first. So yeah, second point, mindfulness is only cultivated through meditation. So that is incorrect, because mindfulness is consisted of, there are many ways mindfulness can be practiced. One way is through meditation, right? So that is a common misconception, where people think mindfulness is just being seated and closing your eyes and meditating. That is entirely wrong. So that is one misconception about mindfulness. Another misconception is, mindfulness is about emptying the mind. That is an entirely incorrect fact about mindfulness. It's not even a fact, it's a myth. Because mindfulness is not about clearing your negative thoughts. It's about analyzing both your positive and negative thoughts, and accepting your negative thoughts in particular without any judgment. You're supposed to create a safe environment for yourself first, and accept that, okay, you are experiencing these certain negative emotions like stress, anxiety, depression, and so on. Like, you feel that you're going through something that is not bearable. So through mindfulness, you're just trying to develop that mindset of accepting such emotions and acknowledging them. But it's highly impossible to clear off all those negative emotions and only focus on the positive. So remember, when you practice mindfulness, you focus on both the positive and negatives. But what you do with the negatives is, you accept them and acknowledge them. You can't clear them off immediately. You accept, you acknowledge them, and you try to overcome them in a positive way, rather than trying to overburden yourself with such negative emotions. So mindfulness is not about clearing your mind of the negative thoughts and only instilling with positive thoughts. So that's a misconception. Then the next misconception about mindfulness is equal to relaxation. Yes, relaxation often comes with mindfulness, but it's not about relaxing yourself and just being there. Because when you relax, you really don't focus on anything. You just relax and just be there. But mindfulness is trying to focus on some of your emotions that can be quite problematic to you. So, mindfulness is not the same thing as relaxation. Even though that's a part of it, you are trying to develop a mindset that is somewhere between relaxation and restlessness. You're trying to bring your mind to a focus level where you can try to acknowledge your emotions in an appropriate manner, right? And yeah, another thing is mindfulness is a quick fix, which means mindfulness can be achieved very quickly. No, it's something long term. Not everyone is able to practice mindfulness successfully in the first go. Maybe a lot of people would start off with meditation as mindfulness practice, but not a lot of people have that capability to achieve that perfect state of mindfulness. Nobody can achieve the perfect state of mindfulness, but maybe something that will help them focus. Not everyone will be able to achieve that immediately. So it's a long term thing. If you need to make sure that you practice mindfulness properly, then you have to allocate some part of some time of your day and see how you actually have developed that over a certain period of time. So even though you may not be able to do it the first time, second time, third time, you may be able to do it the next time. It depends from person to person, but it definitely cannot be achieved by everyone quickly. So remember, mindfulness is something long term, and you need to invest yourself in it like fully, at least 5 minutes of your day for that, in order to practice it properly. And the next myth about mindfulness is that you have to only be seated to practice mindfulness. That again is connected with meditation, because usually meditation is done by sitting. But mindfulness can also be uh, executed by even standing, sitting, walking. No matter how, in what position you are, you can still practice mindfulness. You do not need to necessarily be seated to be able to practice mindfulness. So, but one thing that you are supposed to avoid when you are trying to get that state of mindfulness is to lie down. Because when you lie down, especially when you are very tired or like quite stressed and you need some rest for yourself, if you lie down, you might end up sleeping. If you sleep, then you're not in a mindfulness state. You're not having that mindful state of mind. Instead, what you have, you're just sleeping, and you're at an unconscious level. Your mind is at an unconscious level. Mindfulness is all about being consciously aware and present at the moment. So if you lie down, you may end up sleeping. So if you avoid lying down, it's better. But you don't need to necessarily be seated. You can even practice mindfulness by walking, um, by even standing up. Anything is possible. And the next misconception about mindfulness is that um, there is a goal. Now, people think, okay, mindfulness is about achieving the benefits of mindfulness. Yes, it is. But don't take those benefits as an ultimate goal for you to practice mindfulness. What you have to do is you have to go with the flow. So when you are in that state of mind, or when you are ready to start mindfulness or incorporate mindfulness into your day-to-day activities, you should not think, okay, these are the benefits of mindfulness, this is what I'm going to achieve. If you have those benefits as a goal, then you will not really be able to practice mindfulness effectively. So don't have that end term the benefits as the end term goal of practicing mindfulness. Rather, just go with the flow and accept your emotions that you want to cope with. The next myth about mindfulness is there is a good meditation and bad meditation. Now, there's nothing like that. people are not able to practice mindfulness perfectly at a stretch. There can be good days, there can be bad days for people. But you, just because of that, you can't term their practice of mindfulness as good or bad. Because maybe some people might start off their day very bad. So when they try to practice mindfulness at a particular time that they usually do, what happens is they might not be able to focus in the usual way they do. Or sometimes some people might start off the day well, but still some kind of restlessness in them, which will make them unable to focus on what they need to do. Still, it's not that okay, this person couldn't do it, so it's bad. This person did it, so it's good. There's nothing like that. It can vary from person to person every day. Because of that, you can't really term as good or bad mindfulness. It's a challenge. It's about overcoming the challenges of it and still practicing and accepting mindfulness in the right way. And then the next misconception is mindfulness is a religion. This is something I already mentioned when I told about the roots of mindfulness. Yes, it is originated from the practices of Buddhism and Hinduism, but that doesn't mean people of other religions cannot practice mindfulness. So, mindfulness is not something people from certain religious backgrounds are supposed to be doing. You can say religious activities can be connected to mindfulness, yes. But mindfulness is entirely not a religion. No matter what background you are from, you can still practice mindfulness. Okay. So there's nothing like, it's allocated for certain people of certain groups. So don't mix up that. Mindfulness can be practiced by anybody, and it's not just bound to a religion. But still, you can say your religious practices can help you get into that state of mind where you feel like you are practicing mindfulness. And then, final misconception about mindfulness is that it's easy. Obviously, it's not, because people think, okay, I'm just going to close my eyes and just meditate, and I have achieved that state of mindfulness, which is not really true. As I mentioned earlier, it's not a quick fix, and there can be challenges while you practice mindfulness. It's all about being determined and investing your time in it if you really want to practice mindfulness in your life. So, some days can be hard, some days can be easygoing. You have to accept both and just understand the fact that mindfulness is also full of challenges, and it's all about overcoming them and coping with your negative emotions. So, those are some of the myths about mindfulness or misconceptions about mindfulness, which you need to know before you incorporate mindfulness into your day to day activities, especially in your workplace. Right. The next thing that I'm going to focus on is mindfulness and emotional intelligence. I roughly went through that, but let me just go through about that in detail. So, mindfulness and emotional intelligence do have connections. They're not the same thing, but the difference is that emotional intelligence, you not only identify, understand your own emotions, but also it's about perceiving another person's emotions. That will enable you to communicate in the right way. But mindfulness is a conscious state of mind where you accept your emotions only, like you focus only on yours. But the common factor about emotional intelligence and mindfulness is self awareness. So, mindfulness is also connected to self awareness. Emotional intelligence is also connected to self awareness. So, when you practice mindfulness, there is a tendency that you would also develop emotional intelligence. And this is very, very important. Just like mindfulness is considered like an important practice that employees should consider, emotional intelligence is also another uh, factor that employees should have in them. Because when you consider workplaces, the environment is different. Especially if you're working on site, you meet a lot of people, you work in different work environments. So the people whom you interact with, they are not the same as you, and they are not going to think in the same mindset as you. So you have to understand what you feel about that and also perceive what they feel, and that will help you understand and help you build a better relationship with them, and also give you the ability to communicate better. That is emotional intelligence, uh, in brief. So it's like not only focusing on yours, it's about focusing and perceiving another person's emotions so that your communication method is done in the right way, because sometimes you may be short tempered, but when you're at a workplace, you can't express that short temperedness immediately. That will put your job at a risk, and you will have to face a lot of major consequences. So, to avoid that, when you have a high level of emotional intelligence, um, you will be able to understand, to analyze the situation correctly and communicate properly, even if you may be a person who's not a person who's going to react in the right way immediately. So it's about practicing it. So maybe if you incorporate mindfulness in your day-to-day activities or at your workplace, then you will develop self-awareness, which is again connected to emotional intelligence. That is where mindfulness and emotional intelligence kind of have a connection. They're not the same, but it's about managing your emotions correctly and being self-aware, and also being socially aware, where emotional intelligence is involved. So that is about mindfulness and emotional intelligence. Okay. So before I move on to the practical applications, I just want to know if whatever I just gave an overview on was understood by the participants. If yes, you can just drop a chat on the chat box, I mean, message on the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and just say yes, or ask any questions that you have. Okay. All right. So I believe even the others are okay and have understood whatever that was explained about mindfulness. Right. Okay, now let's move on to the practical applications, and we'll also involve in some activity so that you will have an idea about what mindfulness can be and its practical application. Okay. Okay, so when you consider mindfulness techniques, as I mentioned earlier, mindfulness can be done in many ways. One way is meditation, which is a common way, and another common method is through breathing. Even a normal breathing exercise will help you achieve mindfulness. And then there's body scan, which is actually trying to be consciously aware of what you feel, like maybe certain parts of your body where you may feel some sort of pain, and try to relieve that stress and get rid of the pain or something like that. So that is one way of mindfulness. Then mindful walking, like each step that you take, you mindfully are being aware of it rather than just walking the usual way you do. Mindful walking is also one way of achieving mindfulness. And then mindful eating, again similar to walking, mindful walking. Mindful eating is also being consciously aware of what you eat, and involving yourself in whatever that you eat. You're like analyzing the food that you eat, like bit by bit, like whatever that you're eating, rather than just eating unconsciously or without any awareness. You're mindfully eating. And then visualization techniques, that is having a picture, an image about what kind of things you need to do. So it's not about not only about relieving stress, but maybe to deal with certain situations. Visualization techniques can be helpful. We will look into that in detail, but these are some a few ways that mindfulness can be practiced. So, yeah, practical strategies. One way is through meditation, one way is through breathing, and when you involve yourself in such practices, what happens is you will develop a better sense of mindfulness, right? So in that case, it will be useful for you to reflect on yourself, and it's also a form of self-care, because when you are afflicted with a lot of stress, you need to take some time to accept and cope with such kind of a feeling. So whether it be workplace or whether it be your personal life, mindfulness and incorporating such practical strategies will be useful, right? Okay, so let's do a mindfulness breathing exercise in order for you to understand what mindfulness can be in the form of breathing exercise. Okay, so are you all ready to start? So don't read through the steps yet. I will like direct through so that you all can follow it step by step, and try to get an idea about mindfulness breathing exercise as a mindfulness technique. So please let me know if you all are ready to start. Okay, everyone ready? So make sure that you're in a place without any distraction or sound, which is quite better. If not, you will not be able to focus on what you're going to do. If you are able to get into a place where there's less distractions, it's better. Okay, so firstly, follow it step by step. You'll have to close your eyes in the second step onwards. So after that, I will direct what you need to be doing. So first, sit and relax in a comfortable place, which is not with distractions, of course, and take a deep breath. So taking a deep breath, you can do it with your eyes open or closed. That is not a problem. But your first step is, please take a deep breath and relax yourself. Okay. Then now you can close your eyes and reflect on all the heavy burdens that you're having in your head. Maybe you're after work now. All those negative things that happen at work, try to put that down, like putting down a heavy bag that you have been having on you, like putting it down on the floor, something like that. Close your eyes and set aside those negative emotions. Okay. Now focus on your breath. Be fully aware of your breathing. Don't lose focus. That's what I mentioned. If it's better if you are in a place free of distractions, then you can focus better. So focus on your breath. Be fully aware in the moment and count from 1 to 10. Start counting your breaths. Start counting your breaths softly. Count from 1 to 10 and then start again. That is your fourth step. Start counting your breaths. Count from 1 to 10 and then start again. And now you can get more and more involved in your breathing process. Get more involved in the moment. Okay? So I hope you all are following. Now what you need to do is bring your attention to whatever the thoughts that are running in your mind. Maybe some negative emotion that's there in you. Try to bring that and try to slowly acknowledge that feeling or emotion. But don't be hard on yourself. Take it slowly and again focus on your breath. This is what mindfulness is about. You need to not just breathe only. If you're doing just a breathing exercise, that's not mindfulness. Mindfulness is about incorporating your thoughts that is maybe quite disturbing and involving this breathing as well in between. So while you're focusing on the thoughts or emotion that's running in your mind, bring your focus slowly back to your breath. This is not very easy, but this is the next step. So when you're focusing your focus back to your breath, make sure that you do it very gently. Don't go hard on yourself. Okay? You have to make sure that you develop that sense of peace. Right? So now you are almost done with this exercise. You have to bring it to an end. Bring this particular meditation practice to an end. Now you can open your eyes and relax yourself. You can stretch your hands, maybe even stand up and try to stretch your hand and feel better of how you feel. Please drop a message on the chat box when you're done. Is everyone done? Okay, so now how do you feel after this particular simple breathing exercise? How do you feel now? Yes? Yes, you feel good, you feel calm. So this is what you're supposed to feel. But sometimes you may feel restless because that negative emotion, whatever that is disturbing your mind or disturbing you, can be really not help you be able to focus back on your breathing or try to relax yourself a little bit, right? So if you feel good, that's good. If you feel calm, that's good. So that is the ultimate motive of practicing mindfulness and try to cope with your emotions. So take it slowly like that. Now this is just one way, right? This is just one way that mindfulness is practiced, but there are several other ways, right? So if you try to incorporate this at least maybe 5 minutes after your work, or if you really want to do this in between your break time at work, you can do this so that you acknowledge, okay, this is what you have been feeling. So, okay, I'm going to slowly cope with this, but this is not going to happen immediately, right? And remember, if you keep doing this and still it doesn't work, then you need to consider reaching out to a professional, because sometimes the stress is so bad, the anxiety is so bad. Some people may get into a depressive state due to certain circumstances. So, mindfulness practice alone is not going to help for certain people. So, over time, if you don't realize any sort of positive change, and you're still very disturbed, then you need to consider reaching out to a professional. So, this is one method where mindfulness can be practiced. Now, let's get into another activity, which is mindfulness eating. So find a small piece of food. So this can be a piece of chocolate or anything, a biscuit or anything. So if you all have a snack or whatever that is next to you, or if you all can find, that's better. So just find a small piece of food and let me know if you have, so that the next steps can be done. Are you all ready? It doesn't need to be anything big. If you have something small, that would be better. At least a biscuit or something should help. What about the others? Is it only one person, or everyone is finding difficult to find a small piece of food? Okay. So for those who actually can follow, you all can follow it. If others can join, it's better. Okay, so you have found a small piece of food. Now look at that food. Have a close look at that food. Notice how the texture of that food is. Notice its color. Like observe the food a little nicely. That's not something that you usually do. But now take the time to notice every nook and corner of whatever the food that you have in your hand. Let me know when you're done. Okay. Now what you need to do is close your eyes. Don't put your food in the mouth yet. Close your eyes, and while touching the food, try to explore the food. Now that you looked at the food, you looked at the texture, whatever. Now close your eyes, and with your sense of touch, just try to explore how the particular food item is. Okay. So this needs to be done by closing eyes. You just need to feel the texture of the food after, now that you have seen, now that you have noticed the color and everything. Now what you need to do is you need to close your eyes and explore the food. And before you again put into your mouth, you need to smell the food as well. After that, you can start eating, but make sure that it's possible to have at least 2 bites of that food. Okay, so first you take your first bite and you chew very slowly. Don't like chew as you usually do. Now, normally, how do we eat? Do we actually explore everything about the food that we eat? We don't do that usually. But here, what you need to do is you take your first bite and then you chew very slowly, and you involve yourself in that moment fully. You chew it, you taste it, take about like 20 seconds to finish that first bite. But you need to like fully be involved in that process. You like bite, you chew, you're mindfully chewing it. You're not doing it very in a hurry, right? You're mindfully experiencing that chewing and tasting process, right? So you repeat the same thing with your second and last bite, and mindfully chew and taste the food, right? Okay, let me know once you're once you have completed this, so that I can explain about mindfulness eating. Okay. So, do you feel that there is a difference between um, mindfully eating something and the usual way that you eat? There is definitely a difference, and it's much more relaxing. So now you might think, how do I include this in my workplace? So you have break time, you have your lunch break. So when you're eating, try to explore that food. Now, what is the whole motive about mindfulness eating is you are not overburdening yourself with stress. What you're doing instead is you are incorporating mindfulness through whatever that you're eating. So you are actually trying to put yourself into a relaxed state of mind by exploring the food alone. So you are getting into that state of mind where you are actually calm and not haphazardly doing things. So this can be initiated even through eating. Just like breathing exercise, eating in this manner is also going to help you develop mindfulness, right? So to get that idea, this mindfulness eating is also done by many people as a practice of mindfulness. Okay. So next is we have mindfulness walking. Yeah. So mindful walking is practicing mindfulness not by just staying in one place. This is obviously by walking. So what you can do is, if you feel like you are stressed with a lot of work, maybe during your break or just as a short break, you can do mindful walking. This is going to be very useful. So you're not supposed to just, okay, I'm taking a break, I'm going for a walk. It's not like that. What you need to do is, if maybe there's a nice space outside, you can find a peaceful space and you can walk there without distracting yourself. So here also what you're doing is just like how you were mindfully eating. Mindful walking is about focusing how your feet is touching the ground and the movement of your body. Now, when we usually walk, we don't do this. We don't focus on how our feet is touching the ground and how our body moves. We don't mindfully look into all that. But maybe if you are a little overwhelmed with work, maybe if you're stressed, you can try to incorporate this and try to reduce your stress and anxiety level. Usually, people say if you take a walk and get some fresh air, you will feel good. But if you're doing it mindfully in this kind of a manner, then you will find a difference. You may find a difference. You might feel like, okay, I feel less stressed now, I feel less anxious now. So you can practice mindful walking as well as a way of incorporating mindfulness. Okay, so that's about mindful walking. And we have visualization techniques. This is another way of mindfulness. So here, this way also you can reduce your stress and do better at your work, right? So not only stress, you can reduce your anxiety and other negative emotions, and that is done by picturing calming or pleasant scenarios, right? As I mentioned, you can picture those calm and pleasant scenarios before you deal with some sort of maybe before you go and deal with somebody at a workplace, right? So let's come to that. First, let's look into some types of visualization. We have guided visualization, self-directed visualization, symbolic, and creative. Guided visualization is like connected with audios, videos, or some sort of script which will guide you to visualize certain things. Self-directed visualization is more like some customized version about what really is your goal about practicing a visualization as mindfulness. Symbolic is you have certain symbols, some depiction where you visualize something. Creative visualization is trying to creatively come up with something that will help you um, fulfill your particular goal. So visualization usually comes with some sort of an end-term goal. So this is not same as uh, having benefits of mindfulness as your end-term goal. Okay, so this is like you're trying to deal with a certain situation. You have a specific goal. You set that goal, and through visualization, you're trying to successfully fulfill that. So, for example, at a workplace, you either have a project that you need to complete on time. That can be a goal, or your goal can be to resolve a conflict with another employee. Maybe you got into some fight or some sort of a misunderstanding, and you're not in good terms with somebody. But as a way of resolving this conflict, you can't come up with a solution immediately. Visualization technique as a mindfulness practice can help you resolve conflict with somebody whom you are not in good terms with. So it can be any type of a goal like that at your workplace. Then you can choose whatever the type of visualization that works with you and work towards fulfilling that end-term goal. That's how visualization works. So again, you're supposed to get yourself into a space where you're comfortable and you're free of distractions. Because if you're distracted, you won't be able to focus on what you need to do. So here again, to practice visualization, you're supposed to make yourself comfortable, find a quiet place, and you can do deep breathing or muscle relaxation. First, relax yourself, and then you can picture the calming or pleasant scenarios and see what needs to be done to resolve certain things, or maybe complete a project or something that is to do with your workplace. Okay, so if you think this is going to work out for you in the long term, to make it even more better, to reap the benefits of it in a better way, you can write them down. Some sort like a journaling. Journaling is also going to help. So you can write down that this is what you're going to do and keep track of what is happening, because sometimes fulfilling this goal may not happen immediately. You might have a progress chart or something and then tick off, okay, this happened today, okay, the next step will be this, something like that. So that will be more effective when you practice visualization. So you're approaching a situation in a more calm and poised manner rather than taking decisions immediately, or rather than taking decisions in a stressful situation or in an anxious situation, right? Or if you want to approach something, you need to make sure that you don't stress yourself. So visualization technique can help you take decisions without stress and anxiety, or rather with less stress and anxiety. Okay, so that is visualization techniques. Then we have mindful communication. This is another important thing. When you talk to somebody at your workplace, usually maybe due to lack of time or something like that, people are not able to mindfully talk to each other. So what happens is they're ready to talk, but they're not ready to listen to what another person speaks. That will end up with a lot of conflicts among employees, and a lot of misunderstandings can happen. So in order to avoid such situations, you can attempt to mindfully communicate with your colleagues or other employees at your workplace. So effectively listen to what the other person says, and also um, put yourself into that person's shoes, especially if it's a very complicated situation. Be more empathetic. So active listening and empathy is important when it comes to mindful communication, because without that, you won't be able to understand another person's perspective, because only listening to your perspective is not going to help in the long term, especially when dealing with a lot of different types of people. So mindful communication comes with active listening and empathy as well, and not just you expressing only your thoughts. You have to give space for others to express their thoughts as well, and then collectively you need to come to a decision if it's a decision making process that will develop, that will rather help the company overall. It will improve the company's work culture, because a workplace without empathy, without people who are not ready to actively listen to you, will not bring about a healthy work culture. It will be very stressful, and there'll be a lot of employee turnover. So, in order to build a very healthy professional environment, mindful communication is key. So, practicing effective listening or active listening and being empathetic is important. Okay, so mindful communication is also a good way of practicing mindfulness in the workplace. Then, decision making also needs to be done mindfully, which is something I already mentioned. So, you should never take decisions in a hurry. That's an obvious thing. So, mindfulness can help you think about the different angles of solving problems. So, that's like creatively coming up with ideas, something like visualization, something like having the creative visualization technique to deal with certain situations. So, that will help you creatively think different ways of dealing with situations and choose the right approach. So that will make you more confident and also reduce, or rather entirely avoid, any sort of conflicts. Prevent it. So mindfulness is important when it comes to decision making as well. So that's why practicing mindfulness is important at your workplace. Okay, so before I just wind up with mindful workplace culture, so far how is the content? Like, how have you all understood it? Or do you all have any questions to ask? Okay. Okay, so finally, let's focus on creating a mindful workplace culture, right? Because some workplaces may not have that attitude of practicing mindfulness. It just comes with different employees' needs. So, how to create a mindful workplace culture? So, to begin with, a leader should be more mindful, first and foremost. For a company to thrive successfully, the leader of that particular company should be mindful. It's only then that leader will be able to actively listen to his or her employees and also come up with good decisions, especially when it's a very complicated situation. So it always starts with the leader and then it goes down to the employees. I mean, that is a much more effective way in order to cultivate that mindful field environment, work environment. So, when mindfulness is practiced within a workplace, it leads obviously to a positive work culture. Due to that reason, employees will be able to be emotional, have emotional intelligence, and also mental resilience. That is, to adapt to different situations, different environments, different work. You need to have that when you're at a workplace. You can't expect for the same thing every day or rather every time. So that mental resilience is important at a workplace. When you have mindfulness as a practice, or if the workplace has that as an important practice, then it will be useful for the employees in order to have that mental resilience and work in a positive work culture. So what happens because of that? Then it's a healthy work environment and there is high employee satisfaction, and the well-being of employees are also going to be like really good at a good level. And there's overall job satisfaction, there's productivity at work. All these can be observed if mindfulness is incorporated at workplaces, right? So mindfulness is important as a means of managing your stress, as I mentioned when I spoke about the different mindfulness techniques. So the typical forms of practicing mindfulness at workplaces, the breathing exercise, or you can even do mindful walking, right? So this will help you be more stress free rather than working with a lot of stress, especially if you have a lot of tasks for the day. If you're not doing it mindfully, uh, it's not going to work. I mean, you might, you know, be unsuccessful in what you're going to do. So you have to first get into that state of mind where you can mindfully focus on your work. So with stress, you're not going to, you will not be able to fulfill the tasks effectively. So practicing mindfulness, like mindful breathing, walking, all that is will help you to overcome the workplace stress, not only while working, but also when you get back home. As a balance of work life, having that work life balance also will be there when you practice mindfulness. So not necessarily at workplace, even after work, when you practice mindfulness, it will help you to have a pleasant day or pleasant night afterwards. If not, you will carry all the stress from work, and that will overburden you till the next day or forever. So, as a means of overcoming stress, mindfulness is important. And also, with a calm and poised mindset, you can overcome or even experience a situation where there can be stress than the usual stress that you experience. So, no matter how much stress is there, if you have that, I mean, if you are someone who's practicing mindfulness and are having self-awareness and social awareness, all of that will help you focus on your work better. So that is where mindfulness plays a major role at your workplace, especially to overcome stress. And then, as I mentioned, mindfulness is not only important for your professional growth, but also for your personal growth. When you practice mindfulness, there's definitely a work-life balance, a healthy, you will have better well-being, and you will be able to balance between your work and your personal life, right? So this way, you will be able to successfully fulfill your work-related tasks as well as whatever that you have personally set for yourself. Because sometimes when there is no balance between work and your personal life, then there will be a clash where you will not be able to fulfill either one. So mindfulness will help you focus on each of the tasks appropriately so that you can achieve your long-term goals successfully step by step. So just because you practice mindfulness doesn't mean you put all of them in your head all at once. What you need to do is you need to make sure that you take them one by one and mindfully invest yourself in fulfilling your long-term goals. And then finally, we have implementing mindfulness in the workplace. So rather than just employees doing it by themselves, even organizations or companies can come up with certain training programs or any other initiatives where a mindful work culture is developed. So more there is employees can be more motivated, and it will also help in their well-being and growth. It's also good for the company because there will be less employee turnover as well at the end of the day. So mindfulness in the workplace can not only be implemented by the employees themselves personally, but the organizations and the other whatever the companies, they can take that initiative to uh, conduct certain training programs that will help the employees practice mindfulness. So not only one employee is going to benefit in that case, like the entire employees, I mean all of the employees in a particular organization will benefit out of it. So that shows mindfulness, and it's important in the workplace, because when employees are stressed, then working for them to work will be another burden. So for them to work properly and fulfill the tasks appropriately, they will need to have a stress free mind, or rather a mind that is only with very less stress, right? So mindfulness in the workplace can be even done this way. Organizations can take the initiative. So this is going to be beneficial for both the employees as well as the company's growth. Yeah, so finally, again, embracing mindfulness is important. And if you really want to see the full entire benefits of mindfulness, you need to commit to yourself and be consistent. Just doing it 1 2 days and then you think, okay, it's not going to work, that is not how mindfulness is done. If you want to do it, you need to be more consistent. If you want to see the benefits of mindfulness properly, then you need to be more consistent, right? Some days may not really go as you planned, but you you can try to involve yourself in mindfulness so that it will help you be more present at work, right? So as a conclusion, what I would like to say is, in modern workplace, especially where technology has taken um, most of the workplace, right? So technology, all of that is going to be very stressful. So mindfulness in workplace can help the employees to achieve a work-life balance and be more clear in what they want to fulfill in both their personal and professional life. And at the end of the day, not only the employees are going to benefit, there will be a healthy workplace culture, and also the companies will thrive successfully, because when the employees work mindfully and properly, then there is a good reputation even for the company as a whole. So that way, mindfulness will be very beneficial in modern workplaces where stress is a very common thing these days. So to overcome such stressful situations, mindfulness can be incorporated. So that's it actually. If you all have any questions, you all can put it in the chat box. And I hope this session was useful for you all as employees, and you all found some time to relax yourself after work, especially, so that you understood as well how mindfulness can be practiced in your day-to-day life. So you can try doing this, and there are several apps also for this purpose where you can track your progress, like Headspace and Calm. There are several apps that can be useful for this purpose. So you all can incorporate mindfulness in your daily life, not only just for work, but workplace stress is a thing where which can be very which can be an overburden for both your work life and personal life. So practicing mindfulness, and that too with the use of several resources and apps, um, can help you achieve that work life balance as well. So thank you for joining. If you all have any questions, you all can ask me now, uh, or I can wind up. And I hope you all found the session useful in understanding the benefits of mindfulness in the workplace. Do you all have any questions? You're welcome. Okay, so Hope to see you in another useful workshop. And thank you for your time. Thank you for your valuable time and joining in this workshop. Uh, yes, hope you will incorporate mindfulness in your day to day life. And yes, wishing you a good night and have a great day tomorrow.